Switzerland's landscapes. Peaks, plateaus, valleys, lakes.
The landscape in Switzerland includes plenty that can also be found elsewhere. Mountains, glaciers, rivers, lakes, narrow valleys, and broad plateaus.
The unusual thing about this geographical diversity and the climate extremes that go with it is its concentration into a very small area within a single country.
Arctic conditions at 11,000 feet.
And a lush Mediterranean environment barely 60 miles away.
It takes only 3 or 4 hours to cross Switzerland from west to east, by rail or road at its widest point, just 220 miles. The Central Plateau is where Switzerland is most densely populated. This is where you'll find well-known big cities such as Geneva and Zurich, not forgetting the capital Bern, or Lucerne, Basel, or Lausanne.
And it's only 160 miles from north to south. But in this direction, nature takes the winding roads, railways, and homes higher and higher into the mountains. In the Alpine region, mountains reaching up to 11,000 feet dominate the landscape and habitats.
Ancient feudal lords had much to thank nature for. They picked out strategic sites on which to build their massive fortresses, which have withstood enemy attack and the ravages of time for centuries. And with its historical significance recognized and its historical fabric carefully restored by later generations, this one is now included on the UNESCO World Heritage List.
Recent construction in the Alps, which has pushed back technical boundaries, hasn't been for defense or warning against attackers. The opposite, in fact. A 32-mile-long tunnel is being built through the heart of the mountains to house a high-speed rail link. For millions of passengers and millions of tons of freight, the Swiss Alps have always been an unavoidable stage of the journey south. These days, the route is generally an easy, if sometimes very busy one.
It's a pity, because people are hurrying past some of the world's most beautiful scenery, and also one of its best conserved and most easily accessible recreation areas. Switzerland seasons: summer, winter, spring, autumn.
In Switzerland, the year has very definite seasons. The new year begins in the middle of winter, welcomed in Appenzell with ancient customs, fearsome costumes, and heart-rending songs.
With its snow and ice, the Swiss winter is a very popular time of year, especially when the warming winter sun shines above the often thick layer of fog that blankets the low-lying areas.
Up in the mountains, winter in the snow takes many different forms, from simple to exclusive, and from relaxing to stressful.
While the dress code at carnivals in the southern hemisphere is minimal, the climate here encourages revelers to wrap up warmly. But below zero temperatures don't stop the otherwise super cool Swiss going crazy to blow the winter blues away.
A couple of weeks later, the winter is consigned to the flames with an old ritual and not a trace of regret. In late April and early May, nature comes out of hibernation. This is when the last cantons that follow the old traditions hold their open-air assemblies to vote by raising hands.
June means the start of the Swiss summer, and with it an unparalleled range of outdoor activities. In addition to simple summertime pleasures that are savored until the last ray of sun is gone, popular events are held all over the country. And anyone who believes that sociability and originality are very un-Swiss is in for a surprise.
Amateur and extreme sportsmen crown their kings. While in the Valais, cattle breeders are crowning their queens.
Festival organizers fight it out for the best dates. And it all ends with one of the biggest parties in the world, as 1 million people join the street parade through central Zurich.
From September onwards, nights are longer and heads a little cooler. The alpine dairymen bring their animals and their cheese back down from the mountains, just as they have done since time immemorial.
Meanwhile, the vineyards are a hive of activity. As elsewhere, harvest time in Switzerland is another occasion for celebration. As the vines ripen, so too do the chestnuts in the south, an excuse to return to life in the open air.
Then, with the first frost, comes peace, reflection, and color. In the autumn, the forests and mountains once again attract hikers. Chefs invite you to taste their culinary excellence. And museums and concert halls offer a stroll on the cultural side of life. Switzerland's contrasts: city, country, tradition, modernity.
In the past, the Swiss have not tried all that hard to distance themselves from the stereotypical clichés. According to their reputation, the Swiss are a nation of bankers, watchmakers, and cheesemakers, where every man and every woman plays the Alp horn and makes death-defying descents down the steepest ski runs in the winter.
But the fact is, there's no such thing as a typical Swiss person. Four national languages.
Meine Damen und Herren.
Buonasera, ben ritrovati al quotidiano.
D'ici là, excellente soirée. Au revoir.
Four cultures. Geographical extremes. And a highly developed industrial and service society. All of these specifically Swiss things have created many individual lifestyles.
The simple way of life of a village or a small town is in stark contrast to life in the major urban areas and business regions, with all that they have to offer.
But opposites attract. Commuting between different worlds is not only possible, but very common. Structures are permeable, distances short, and mobility great.
The heart of many city dwellers belongs in the country.
If that sounds just too idyllic, you'll soon discover that Switzerland also has plenty of today's fast-moving action to offer.
This close coexistence of town and country and the forces of tradition and progress have, however, produced one typically Swiss characteristic, that of enduring balance, compromise as something positive and as a viable way of living together. Switzerland's values, history, politics, culture, humanity.
Der Regierungsrat hat die Post bereits früher im direkten Gespräch ersucht, Alternativen zu evaluieren.
Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Although the origins of the nation get lost in the medieval mists of legends and sagas, William Tell's legendary accuracy with the crossbow still inspires today's shooting enthusiasts. Every year, the entire Swiss population commemorates the founding of the first confederation with fireworks and huge bonfires.
What began according to the great freedom-fighting tale, proudly cultivated and embellished over time, in a terrible storm on Lake Lucerne, has grown up through more than 700 years of rich and varied history and developed into a modern federal state. Switzerland as we know it now came into being in 1848.
It was then that 24 mini-states, which had previously been more or less independent, pledged allegiance to a higher concept of nationhood and created a common borderless economic area, and gave themselves the very federal and concordant constitutional basis which remains in place today. In practice, key decisions at all levels of government always involve all of the country's most important political powers.
The influence of the federal government is largely restricted to laying down framework conditions. The highest legislative body is the Federal Assembly, which is known as a militia parliament because deputies still exercise their mandates alongside their other professional activities.
The 26 cantons and their communes enjoy a great deal of political decision-making freedom and administrative autonomy in implementing government decisions.
Der Entscheid ist dann auf Druck von der Regierung am Donnerstag, am 6. Dezember wieder rückgängig gemacht worden. Auf der Höhe Kahlendörfli.
Then there's the principle of direct democracy, which guarantees each citizen the right to be heard in the political process.
Dieses Projekt wird nicht annehmen. Es wird immer wieder kommen. Wir können nicht so viel Ungerechtigkeit und Stadt haben.
Often bracketed as a special case politically, Switzerland is fully integrated in the European economy and has been for a long time. The same could be said of cultural integration, as Switzerland is where Europe's 3 largest cultural blocs are in the closest contact. The German, French, and Italian language borders pass right through the country. English is also widely spoken. And then there's Romanche, in a small country an even smaller linguistic and cultural minority that enjoys the status of a 4th national language.
Yet 1 in 5 persons living in Switzerland is not Swiss, adding another enriching dimension to the country's cultural diversity.
Intercultural understanding forms the basis of Switzerland's humanitarian tradition. It was born in the 19th century when Henri Dunant, a Swiss, founded the Red Cross, a relief organization aimed at alleviating the personal suffering that war and disaster always cause.
Today, the Red Cross is a professional organization that not only provides direct aid to people around the world, but is also at the forefront of human rights campaigning. There are many government and private organizations working internationally in disaster relief and development cooperation in more than 20 countries.
Switzerland has also long played host to many international organizations, which often provide a neutral stage for the world's political players.
Switzerland, a world apart, but part of the world.